This video is going to be a little bit different than what I normally do on this channel. See, normally I work on things like this crashed GR Supra, or this LS3 swapped 69 Chevelle, or even my single turbo R32 GTR. Unfortunately, at the time of this recording, it is 10 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 12 degrees Celsius. And not only do I not want to lay on the cold concrete all winter, I can't even continue the GR Supra project until we get the shop heated and insulated. The last thing I need to do before I can reassemble this Supra is paint. And it needs to be 70 degrees in the shop before I can do that. So we have 7 upgrades for the shop in this video. 2 major upgrades, 3 medium-sized upgrades, and 2 very, very minor upgrades. Starting with the 2 easy ones, we need to change this light bulb and fill this hole. Super easy, we just measure, cut, and screw it in. The 3 medium upgrades will be done last, but I'll cover them quick. We need to add a shelf for more storage because I ran out a long time ago. Number 2, we're going to be upgrading our old air compressor hose for this super nice one on a reel. And our 3rd and final medium upgrade is a giant fan up there because we have a step in our ceiling and I really don't want all of the hot air getting trapped up top. Now, I've already mentioned the 2 major upgrades. It's a heater and insulation. So let's go back in time and get this heater installed.
Now, I knew I was going to heat the shop this winter, so of course I've been getting things ready along the way. For instance, it's a lot easier to bury a gas line when the ground isn't frozen. So 3 months back, I cleared everything out of this corner and had my gas company bury a line to the shop. Jump forward to a couple weeks ago, and even though I was paying the company to install the heater, I ended up helping. Honestly, I'm okay with it. The man that was installing my heater was on the older side, and even I struggled to lift that heater up. The last thing I wanted was for him to hurt himself. So we set up the drywall lift, hung the mounting bracket, used the drywall lift to hoist up the heater, and got it mounted to its new home. And from here on out, I was no longer needed, so I left him alone to do his work. And that catches us up to the current time of this video. Even though the heater is all hooked up and working, we're still not done yet. I wasn't sure where the heater was going to end up, so I waited to install an outlet until that was done. The breaker I'm going to add the outlet to is the same that feeds the power to the garage door opener. So when I turn off the breaker, I can just check if the garage door opener has power, and that's how I know I got the right one. Then it's as simple as cutting the wire, mounting the new box, stripping back the sheathing, connecting our grounds to the metal box, connecting our wires to the outlet, and as an extra safety, I wrap the outlet with electrical tape and screw it into its new home.
Okay, and just like that, we have an outlet added for our heater. Now we just flip this breaker on and nothing's on fire. So our garage door opener has light. These outlets over here are also connected to that wire. And just like that, those outlets have power. Test our garage door. Oh yeah. All right, and last but not least, if I can plug in our heater and turn on the heater. All right, I don't know if you can hear it, but heater is on and we no longer need to run an extension cord down to this outlet.
Now I hope you're keeping up with the timeline of this video because we're actually going back 2 weeks again to when I took delivery of 4 pallets of insulation. I had her drop off the insulation in my garage because at the time there was no room in the shop. But after some cleanup, I used the skid steer to move it all back to the shop where I obviously needed it. And for the last time, we're back to the present, and it's time to start the biggest project of this video, the insulation. And this took so much longer than I thought it was going to take. The foam board was the real culprit of what was taking so long. The measurements needed to be pretty spot on or it just wasn't going to work. If it's too big, obviously it doesn't fit, and if it's too small, then it doesn't hold itself in place and needs to be held up with tape. And that's besides the fact that the insulation isn't covering everything and therefore it's not insulating all too well. That being said, any gaps from cutting too small, I filled with window and door spray foam. Finally, once all the foam board is in place, we can cut our batt insulation to size using a long level as a straight edge and a utility knife to cut. Very similar to how I'm cutting the foam board to size as well. Then we just use a stapler to hold it in place. Now we just need to rinse and repeat that for every section of the shop. The next sections were nice for the fact that I had previously put the foam board up, and all I needed to do for these sections is clear out some space and hang the rolls. And as you can see here, my lovely wife was willing to help me out on this journey, and I have to give her a huge shout out. She spent upwards of 20 hours in the cold shop with me, and I just can't be lucky enough to have her. It made the job so much easier, and more importantly, it was enjoyable having her around. It's 100% doable solo, and there are sections where I do it solo, even the taller 16-foot sections, but I definitely prefer having her around. Some things I've learned along the way of this adventure that I'll share with you are, if you need to use a hammer to tap the foam board in place, make sure you use a block of wood or something so you're not bashing the foam board and break it. Also, when you're cutting it to size, you don't technically need to cut all the way through it. If you've ever done drywall, it works similar to that. You can just cut a little way through and smack the back of it close to where you cut to break it the rest of the way. That being said, the foam board I bought did have pre-cuts in it, and they were never ever where I needed them to be. So the first time I tried this method, I ended up breaking it on that pre-cut rather than where I cut. So I ended up just cutting all the way through most of the time instead. I did buy a foam cutting knife that I think was specifically for this job, and it did seem to work pretty well. Other than that, I highly recommend some sort of really long straight edge to make your line straight. I bought a 6-foot level for this job specifically, knowing that I would probably use it in the future as well. Another thing you may want to consider is there is actually tape that's specifically for taping these seams. It's called seam tape, believe it or not. You can see it in these shots where the existing pink foam board is up. It is pretty expensive and it adds so much time to the project, so I decided against it, knowing that I was going to use spray foam for any of the larger gaps and that there was going to be a roll of insulation on top of it anyway. Is that necessarily how the professionals would have done it? I don't know, I'm not a professional. So with anything you find on the internet, you need to do your own independent research. Even if it's a professional telling you something, you should always get a second opinion, at least in my opinion. Let's quick talk about R value. R value is how insulation is measured. The more R value, the better your insulation, and the longer it'll take for you to lose your heat, or AC, in the summer. I'm not 100% sure where they got this unit of measurement from, but I'm sure it's on Google somewhere. But all I need to know about R value is that the more, the better. Typically, homes in my area have 30 plus R value in the ceilings and 13 to 21 R value in the walls. I have blow-in insulation in the ceiling already that was done by the company that extended it for me. And currently we are doing foam board in between the framing. The foam board is 7.5 R value, and the batts that are going on top are around 13 R value. So when all said and done, we should be around 20 R value in the walls. And I'm pretty happy with that for a shop. All the quotes I got for spray-in insulation, to get the same R value, it was about double the price of doing it myself with the foam board and batt insulation.
All right, what you're looking at here is a $1,000 mistake. Dropped a 2x4, landed right on my headlight for the Supra. And it's not even like it just broke the lens and I can try to replace it. It broke the entire headlight. The only light in the tunnel that I can see is that we have our modules still, so I don't have, and these are like 750 bucks each. I think this is 750 and this smaller one is 350. So we still have like $1,000 of usable parts from this headlight with the modules, but unfortunately the lens itself is completely smashed. I mean, even on the back here, you can see back to eBay to hopefully find another headlight.
Ouch. Now instead of saving $4,000 on my insulation, I only saved $3,000. A tough pill to swallow, but nothing I can do about it now. I'll just have to cry a little bit while I insulate the rest of the shop. Speaking of crying, I'm getting sick of going up and down this 14-foot ladder, and I'll be happy when it's done. I don't know if I'm more excited to be done with the insulation so I don't have to do this again, or more excited that I'll be working on cars in the winter in shorts and a sweater rather than coveralls. Both, I guess. Anyway, we're just about done insulating the walls, so I'll shut up for a little bit and let you enjoy watching me work at supersonic speed.
Wow, that was a lot of work. That was a lot more work than I thought it was gonna be. Took a lot more time than I thought it was gonna take. But from the garage all the way around, we are fully insulated, except for right up here. Now, the reason I haven't done that yet is room. We are completely full. The shelves are in the middle, the insulation's in the middle, the Supra and all of the Supra parts are in the way of me insulating this, which means we're gonna upgrade our shelving next. I bought 3 more shelves to go in between these two, and then I also bought wood instead of the wire rack for the middle two, just because I have a lot of little items and all the little items fall through the wire rack. So it's not gonna be a huge shelving upgrade. I honestly will probably need more, but for money's sake, we're just gonna do these 3 and do some really deep organizing and see what we can get.
To tackle our shelving, we're just gonna give the floor a quick clean while everything is out of the way before we move our existing shelving back into place. And this shelving is super easy to install. The main rails just slide into some slots, and then there are some cross braces that just bolt into the main rails. After the main shelf is fully assembled, we just add this pre-cut wood on top.
Okay, our new shelf is built. We have wire racks on the 2 end shelves and then wood on the middle one. So we can store the items that'll fall through the wire rack on the middle, you know, like brake clean or any hand tools. So I'm just gonna really quick snap my finger and have all of this organized. Well, I hate to disappoint. I love doing the finger snap thing, but something came up in the middle of cleaning and I had to move the camera. So as sad as that is, here is our clean and organized shelving. But because I love you people so much that are watching me not even work on a car right now and we're upgrading the shop, I'll give you a little hint that people who aren't watching aren't gonna know. The reason we had to stop cleaning and organizing and doing the snap thing is because we actually took delivery of a car for the YouTube channel. Now I'm gonna put a picture up right here really quick of a sneak peek of one of the windows of the car, and I want you guys in the comments to guess what car I bought. But anyway, let's move on. Sorry about the snap thing, but let's carry on with the episode.
Now this top section was actually a little more fun to me than the normal walls. Sure, it took a little longer, but I had to think a little bit to make all the triangles work rather than just measure, cut, install, and repeat. So it was a nice break from the other walls. That being said, I did use a lot of spray foam in this section as there was a lot of nooks and crannies that I just couldn't fill with the foam board. And of course, all of the foam board and spray foam will be layered with a roll of insulation on top anyway, so we should have plenty of R value to suffice.
It's finally done. I have to say, it's one of those things that you just don't want to do it. You know, like maintenance on vehicles. You don't want to do maintenance on vehicles. You want to do fun stuff. But when it's all done, it just, you feel better, right? All the way around, all the way up. And of course, you've already seen behind me as well. It's brighter in here too. Going from white paper sheathing on the outside and wood and pink foam board to everything is white and one color. I guess you can still see the wood posts, but it looks better, it's brighter in here, and it's definitely warmer in here. I've had the heater on a couple times just to get it, you know, 30 degrees instead of 10 while I'm working, and it's much warmer in here than outside. That leaves 2 medium items to complete our shop upgrade video. One of them being this hose reel that we are actually going to skip on. I unfortunately did not know that that hose reel is a 1/4 inch in size, and everything online recommends 3/8 hose, especially for painting, and that's literally what we're gonna use the hose reel next for. My dad bought me that hose reel from his company. I think he got it cheap. I hope he got it cheap because it's unfortunately too small to use. So we're skipping out on medium upgrade number 2, and we're going straight to medium upgrade number 3, the giant fan. So let's take a look at what we got here. We have our box, or you know, it's not actually a box, but we have our circle that our fan is going to mount to. We have the wire to go from that box to our switch, and then we have some screws, wire nuts, and some straps to hold the wire to the ceiling and wall. And then we have our lovely Amazon giant fan. Giant fans are, for lack of a better term, freaking expensive. Like a name brand giant fan is $3,000. I am not spending $3,000 on a fan. This one's an Amazon special for 500 bucks, which is still outrageously expensive for a fan, in my opinion.
Enough talk, let's get this show on the road. Not too many steps here, we just need to mount our box to the center of the ceiling, Run the wire over to the wall, down the wall, then behind our shelving over to the door where the light switches are. We're going to hook up the light switch last so that I can keep the lights on for as long as possible. Then we can strip our wires, wrap our ground wire around the box's ground screw, and begin mounting the fan. First, the bracket and the shaft. Then we can wire nut the grounds together and tuck those away. Then we just have to feed the motor's wires through the shaft and mount it in place. Now we can cut the wires to length and hook up the power and neutral wires, basically wrapping up the wiring side of the fan. Then we just need to mount each fan blade individually while on top of a 14-foot ladder, which was super fun. Now the last piece of the puzzle, the light switch, or fan switch I guess. I really hope I wired the fan correctly, or I'm gonna have to take all of that apart just to fix it. Anyway, for the switch, I'm gonna run a separate one so I can keep the fan on even if the lights are off to keep the hot air circulating. So we just run a little length of wire from the other box to this one. I couldn't find a 3-gang box at my local hardware store that matched my current ones, so I'll have to order that and redo this later. But for now, this works. There's really nothing to wiring, there's only 3 and they're color coded, so as long as the power's off so you don't electrocute yourself, it's not a bad job. We just hook up the wires and screw it all back into place and we're done.
Okay, fan is wired and the fan is in the sky. My lovely wife can flip the fan switch and then I can turn it on with the remote. I wired the switch backwards. All right, well the switch is wired backwards, so the switch is off, but the fan is on. So that's an easy one. But we have a fan. Bonus content, I need a way to get this ladder off the ground. So we have these, and they're going there. I didn't measure, and I wanted that one lower on purpose because the ladder is not straight. It's shaped like an A. For eyeballing that and just winging it, pretty good. Last thing I want to do in this video to end it off, get my garage back. So really quick, here's my mess of a shop before and after cleaning and organizing one last time. It feels so good to have half of my shop back. Before the insulation was here, it was just Supra parts. Now, of course, they had to go somewhere. Basically, all of them went to that corner. That corner wasn't usable before because it had a bunch of insulation, 2x4s, wiring, all sorts of things that I was hanging onto until we were done with this episode to make sure I didn't need any of it. It was good that we kept it. I used a bit of the pink stuff and a lot of the wiring. I didn't have to buy any of the wire to run to the fan. On that note, Chevelle's coming back in here. Mystery car, that's gonna be the next episode, is pulling in. Well, little spoiler, it's not gonna drive in. I'm gonna have to push it in. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll see you in the next one.